Behold, the new face of fear.
It then shows up at the end of the movie. Not show up.
That's actually true. That's a good point. I never thought about that. That he was the one that was never under investigation.
No, never. No, he was always the good guy. Like, he never under investigation. He wasn't playing no tricks. He was there for a little bit, causing a hussy futt, and then he just leaves. And then we don't see him until the end of the movie. Maybe his contract ran out or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, Merry Christmas Eve. The nightmare before Christmas Eve, as they say.
And all through the house.
And all through the house.
A Billy was stirring.
Looking for his Agnes. So, as like you see, we are talking about Black Christmas, Black Christmas is a very famous movie for being one of the first, if not the first, slasher. Before slashers were even named.
Yeah, this film was a slasher before the genre even came out. And what is the greatest thing is that this movie came out before Halloween. This was 1974.
Yep.
And today is the day.
Well, it's close.
Close.
We're actually doing this review on the 21st. This movie came out on December 20th, 1974. So we're on 1 day off.
We're 1 day off. But yeah, in 1974.
But of course, this is dropping on Christmas Eve. So go ahead.
So, also this movie combines elements from a previous film genre that was done in Italy that became famous over here as well. That was called Giallo, which we've talked about before, which was, Dario Argento and Mario Bava and Uccelli. And so
there was one difference though. All those movies, they always have some guy getting their eye poked out.
Yes,
but this one didn't have eye poking.
No, this didn't have that extreme craziness like the Giallo films did. But there was the style was a combination of the slasher film genre and the Giallo genre.
Yes. Now this is also we'll get into some. Did you know here in 1 second? But obviously, like the Halloween movie definitely took the first person view. When Michael was about to walk up the stairs and mirrors his sister. Mm-hmm. This movie was pretty much the whole. We didn't even see. We never saw the killer's face.
No.
Most of the time we would see him would be in like first person view, except for a couple of shots we would just see his eyeball, which was pretty creepy. So, but let's get into some facts about the movie. Of course, I'm going to be playing more facts at the end of the podcast, probably for some of the cast and crew. but let's talk about some right now. So, Black Christmas. Its alternative titles include, you like this one, Silent Night, Evil Night.
Yeah.
All right, and Stranger in the House. So it is a 1974 Canadian psychological slasher film, and it is directed by Bob Clark and written by A. Roy Moore. So we'll talk about some of the cast, because some of the cast is pretty famous in this too. But like we were saying, the release date. So in Canada, this movie came out October 11th, 1974. But in the U.S., it came out December 20th, 1974. So at the box office, made $4 million. All right, from just having a budget of $620,000. So
Wow.
yeah, so not pretty good. So this movie was inspired by a series of murders that took place in the Westmount section of Montreal, Quebec, and the urban legend, the babysit and the man upstairs.
Yes.
So the babysitter and the man upstairs, my bad. Writer Moore composed the script, which was originally titled Stop Me. So upon director Clark's involvement, numerous alternatives were made, primarily the shifting to a university setting with young adult characters. So they took the story from the real life west section of the murders, all right, and they kind of made it a little twist. The film was shot on an estimated budget of, like we said, 62, whatever, in Toronto in the winter of 1973. Black Christmas was produced by Warner Brothers.
Wow.
Who distributes the film in North America, releasing it in Canada on October. We talked about that on October. So they wanted to time it to release with the Christmas holiday, which they did, and it's really cool because, man, I mean, probably during this time, 1974, having like this like horror movie come out, that had to be something. So if people were complaining about Silent Night, Deadly Night, I mean, they must have been going crazy for this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because this is like, well, it wasn't as bloody, but it was pretty creepy, you know. It screened at theaters in the United States throughout late 1975 and would initially gross over $4 million at the box office. Years after its release, Black Christmas has received praise from critics and is noted by film historians for being one of the earliest films of its type to conclude without revealing the identity of its villain.
I love that.
Yes. That's always really good to keep on cliffhangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of movies have taken up that path, as we see. It has also earned a following as a cult film. The film is generally considered to be one of the earliest slasher films, as well as serving as influence for, of course, Halloween. 2 years after its original release, a novelization written by Lee Hayes was published in 1976, and a remake of the same name, produced by Clark, was released in December 2006, which will be our next podcast on Christmas. This Christmas. So you guys are getting like a double header. Me and the Bloodbeard Shope are doing the original Black Christmas today on Christmas Eve, and then tomorrow you can, while you're opening your presents and having your sweet ham or turkey, you can listen
Drinking
to
your eggnog.
Yes, sipping on that eggnog, brother, like our girl Mrs. Mack was with her liquor. You can listen to our sweet sounds. All right, so let's see. The concept and the writing of the film. Let's talk a little bit about this. So Canadian Roy Moore wrote the screenplay entitled Stop Me based on the baby. Okay, we talked about that. Moore also claimed to have been inspired by a series of murders that occurred during the holiday season. Okay, we talked about that. Okay. Film producers Harvey Sherman and Richard Scouten had Timothy Bond rewrite the script to give it university settings. Clark, who had felt the original script was too much of a straightforward slasher film, made several alternatives in the dialogue and also incorporated humorous elements into the film, particularly the drunkenness of Barb's character. So Barb was she was something else, man. She was way out there in this movie. And Mrs. Mack, who Clark based on his aunt. So the director based Mrs. I guess his aunt was some drunken lady.
Yeah, who hit her alcohol.
Yeah. Clark felt that college and high school students had not been seen with any reality on films during this time. And, you know, I can kind of believe that. Like, I think that as later years went on, like when we get into the 80s and stuff, I think a very good film to kind of like show younger kids was that Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah. Yes.
Stuff like that. Now, we do get the trend, and this movie didn't really have that trend. This movie was something else because, okay, so I'm gonna go off my little craziness here. So we're in 1974, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like almost before we get all these 80s slasher horror films.
Right. This is the prototype.
Did you guys notice? Hope you guys watched this film. You should, though, because it's a really good film. But if you've been hearing me and Matt's podcast, most of the time we'll have a lot of horny teenage girls, a lot of horny guys, and everybody's basically ultimate goal in the beginning is to have sex. But it just so happens a killer comes in and screws up that sex up. Sometimes they can have sex, but they might die during it.
Right.
This film didn't have any of that.
No, it was.
None of these girls were horny. This girl was like talking about real life issues.
Right, and that was the striking thing was that it was a discussion about something that is also very important nowadays, which is a very big discussion in the media today, which is abortion.
Yeah. But like none of these girls were trying to like hump on their mans. They had boyfriends, but they're not like all over them and shit.
Yeah, it didn't show like it really, to be honest with you, this movie is a very strong provider for feminism.
Yeah, I can see some of that, yeah. It's just crazy because not only like, okay, so about maybe 5 or 6 years later, then we get tons of horny teens out there.
Yeah.
All slasher horny teens and shit. It's just crazy how that is because this is like, you would think it had to originate somewhere. So it shows me that in the 70s, people weren't as horny as they are in the 80s.
Which is a complete lie.
Which has to be a complete lie. Now, we did get the whole fellatio line,
yeah.
But that was about it. Like, we heard way worse than some of these other films. So, now getting back onto this, so let's see. So college students, even in 1974, are stunt people. They're not fools. Like, they're not dumb people. They're not fools. It's not all bikinis, beach blankets, and bingo. That would be the 80s. So let's see what else we got here. Okay. So Glendale Radar was offered to play the role of Phillips Carson. She accepted the part, but dropped out 1 month before filming began to go on Saturday Night Live commitments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Glenda Radner. Yeah,
Radner.
Yeah, she's been. She was part of the original.
Yeah, cast member of Saturday Night Live.
Cast members of Saturday Night Live. She was part of the what was it? The Groundlings.
Yeah. So she was originally supposed to play the role of Phil.
Dude, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
That would have.
So she was replaced by Andrea Martin.
She did a better job, I think.
Yeah, the role of Lieutenant Fuller, this guy, was originally given to Edmund O'Brien. Upon his arrival to the set, however, the producers realized he would be unable to fulfill the duties required of the part due to his failing health.
Oh, Alzheimer's. He was having Alzheimer's.
Damn, he's having Alzheimer's disease. John Saxon, who had read the script prior, was called by the producers who offered him the role.
Yeah, John Saxon is... Wow.
He accepted and had to drive in Toronto from New York. Within 2 days, began shooting. So, Black Christmas shot on location in Toronto in the winter of 1973-74. The house featured in the film has been discovered by Clark while scouting for locations, and its owners agreed to lease the home for the production. Additional photography was completed on the University of Toronto campus. According to John Saxon, Clark had drawn out storyboards with key shots which he brought to the film set each day. I could understand exactly what I thought he needed and the scene needed. McGrath Kinder remembers making the film was fun. I really bonded with Andrew Martin, filming in Toronto and Ontario. Olivia Hussey was a bit of an odd one. Mm-hmm. She was obsessed with the idea of falling in love with Paul McCartney through her psychic, like a psychic connection. We were a little hard on her for things like that. So, so there's actually a lot for this movie, and I'm probably going to be playing some more at the end, like I said. But let's see. Oh, this movie accolades. Wow. Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. 1976 nominated Best Horror Film. Canadian Film Awards. 1975 won Best Sound Editing and a Feature. I can see that. This actually really did have really good. I mean, they had to fix it probably from the original version.
For the Blu-ray version.
The Blu-ray, but it was really good. It won Best Performance by a Lead Actress.
She was great.
Margaret Kidder. Edgar Allan Poe Awards. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Nominated Best Motion Picture. So. So yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot. Like I said, I'll be playing some more stuff, but let's look into some of the cast here really quick before we get into it.
So who's up first? Who's our?
Let's see, cast. Let's do our boy who played Peter. All right, Keir Dullea.
Apparently, he got top billing because his name was the first one on there.
Yeah, so he's best known for his portrayal as astronaut David Bowman in the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey. So yep, he was.
What? That was him?
Yeah.
It didn't even look like him.
Yeah, because he had longer hair in this one. He has like shorter hair in that one.
Open the pod bay doors, Al.
Yeah, there you go.
Hal, sorry, not Al.
Yeah, so he's also in 1984, 2010, The Year We Make Contact. A lot of science fiction movies.
Yeah.
Bunny Lake is missing. Black Christmas. He studied acting at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater in New York. I love how they do all these like sci-fi stuff and then randomly freaking horror film. Okay, let's see who else.
So let's do the main actress, Jess.
Jess? Okay.
Yes.
Olivia Hussey. Okay. All right, she's acted here in the Hussey was chosen to play the role of Juliet in Friends. I can't even say that guy's name. So in 1968 film version of Romeo and Juliet.
Let's discuss that real quick because I don't think you remember this.
Oh.
When we were in
Hold on. All right, what were you saying about this?
Okay, back when we were in high school, probably about sophomore year when we met in Miss Doyle's class, we were at the time reading Romeo and Juliet, and Miss Doyle decided to show us a movie, and that was this film, was this version of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, okay.
But what happened to her, which is very interesting, was that there was a lot of controversy around her about this film because she was 15 at the time, and she did a full frontal nude scene. And for a young child to do a nude scene like that in a film, it caused a lot of problems. So I thought that was really funny that we've actually seen her before.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some people, they're old like us, around, 2003?
Yeah.
Yeah, seen some of the old school Romeo and Juliets. I remember the movie being pretty good. So check this out. So, when is the movie? 1974, so let's say about a decade later, she would appear in two other horror productions. Okay? Psycho 6.
What?
The Beginning. Alright? And Stephen King's It. Now, I don't know who she played in Stephen King's It.
Oh, she played
She played one of the girls?
not the main girl, no. She played, I remember that. Yes. She played the main leader of the group. Billy, whatever his name was. I can't remember. I'm thinking Billy because of the fucking movie.
Could be Billy.
But it was, but Billy, yeah, that's right, because he would make fun of him. Yeah, that was his.
Was she the girl that gave him all, that sealed the deal?
No, she wasn't the one that sealed the deal
She's
for all
probably
of
a
them.
little older.
Yeah, she was much older at that time. No, I think she was a girlfriend or something like that of him. Yeah, that's right. And in that movie, we haven't seen that version yet because we didn't do part 2 yet. We're doing that when the chapter 2 comes out.
Yeah. So check this out. In addition to screen acting, she's also done voice acting. She provided voices roles in multiple, and this is very topical now, Star Wars video games, including Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Force Commanders, and Star Wars The Old Republic. So, still kicking it. So, yeah. So, that's very interesting. It's always cool to see some of these random actresses and stuff. I always like it, sometimes when they do like some serious roles, some very legendary films, and you got like,
and then you have that random horror film that they've done.
But most people like the random horror film out of all the stuff you probably have done.
Yeah.
So,
or they're, jeez,
the fuck is that? Are we getting visited by Billy? All right, well, obviously, guys, that somebody's out there blowing a bunch of damn leaves.
Oh, and also, who was in this movie was a great actor who plays the lieutenant was John Saxon.
Yeah, what has he been in?
John Saxon is very well known for two films, one of them being Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, buddy.
He was also a renowned martial artist, but also he was in the legendary, which we're going to do on this podcast in our series soon, Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 3, and The New Nightmare.
Yeah,
and he's also known for doing Bava's film, the Evil Eye, and also doing Argento in Italy's Tenebrae.
So I like it how he was a lieutenant in this movie.
Yes.
And in Nightmare on Elm Street, he's also a lieutenant.
Yeah.
So in this movie, he's Lieutenant Fuller. And in Nightmare on Elm Street, he's Lieutenant Donald Thompson. Fancy. It just goes for a circle.
Yeah, full circle.
With our boy, what's his name? Andrew? John.
Yeah, John Saxon.
I don't know where I got Andrew from. All right, everybody. Let's get into Black Christmas.
A high school girl's been murdered. Mr. Harrison's daughter is missing. And now at the house where she lives, the other girls are getting obscene phone calls.
Yeah, what I've done is I've tapped this phone so that when it rings, it'll ring at the station house, too.
There was a little girl murdered over in the park tonight.
Yes, I heard.
Your phone's ringing.
Hello?
Hey, Mommy. Hey, baby. Baby, all right, Mommy. Yes,
Who's there?
I know you're there. Answer me. You answer me, it's me. Mommy. Come here.
Where's Agnes?
You want
What are you doing?
This is Graham. It's group 140, terminal 55.
Remember those idyllic scenes out of your childhood? Crisp winter nights, star bright, sleigh bells, crackling Yule logs, candlelight glistening off of shimmering Christmas trees, chestnuts roasting over open fires, carolers beneath snow-covered window ledges. Remember those. Remember them well. After Black Christmas, they'll never be the same again. Black Christmas, starring Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, Margot Kidder, and starring John Saxon as Lieutenant Fuller. If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
All right. So we start off the movie. By the way, if you guys can hear a leaf blower, it's not my fault. So start off the movie, and we have a house. All right, and then that night, the song "Silent Night" is in the background, playing. We see a person walk up to the house, and I noticed right away that on the door it had like an NKE. So basically, we're at some sort of like sorority house. Now, at first, I thought it was gonna be a bunch of jock dudes hanging around, but it's apparently a girl one.
Yeah, that's what a fraternity. You're thinking. A fraternity is for guys. A sorority is for women.
Yeah, exactly. Sorority, they are. So then this one we really noticed is right away we get a first person shot of obviously the killer.
Yeah, POV shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And me and Matt thought this was really creative because we actually done this shot before in one of our movies without even watching this movie before.
Yeah, it was really really remarkably close to what we did.
Because it basically shows this guy staring at all the girls in there while like heavy breathing. And Matt did that too. And I couldn't tell. We didn't tell Matt to do heavy breathing. I thought he just did it because he was tired. But he was just doing it. But it makes it for a cool effect. You're kind of creepy. you know. So we get this girl in a blue shirt, and her name is Barbara.
Oh, and we didn't talk about Barbara either. Barbara is also a well-known actress, and you might know who what was her name?
Let's go look her up really quick.
Because there's a lot of the thing
There's
is
a lot
about
of
this
people
people. There's a lot of people in this film that I was really shocked that were in this.
Margaret Kidder.
Margaret Kidder was also very well known for being Lois Lane in the Superman movies.
Boom. She was the love of Christopher Reeve's life in the Superman films. Wow, those films when didn't they go from like really good to like super shitty?
Yeah.
So let's see. She was Kidder began her career in 1960 appearing in low-budget Canadian films and television series before landing a lead role in Quaker Fortune, Has a Cousin in the Bronx. Let's see when she did Black Christmas. So she did Sesame's Twins, cult thriller Sisters, and in a slasher film Black Christmas, The Great Waldo Pepper. Oh, look at this. She was also, her performance has Kathy Lutz in the blockbuster horror film, The Amityville Horror.
Oh.
Yes, so this one gained her further mainstream exposure. So was she like the crazy wife? I think
she was the, I forgot she was in Amityville Horror. Yeah, she was the wife, Kathy Lutz, the original.
Check this out. 2015, she won an Emmy Award for her performance on the children's television series R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour. She has also acted in theater productions, most notably appearing on Broadway in 2002, production of the Vagina Monologues. Sounds like something Matt would watch.
No, man, it's called it's called Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, you're like this. In 2005, Kidder became a naturalized U.S. citizen. She is an outspoken political, environment, and anti-war activist. She has also advocated the use of some hippie medication, which research is having helped her treat her bipolar disorder. So
right on.
Hey, can't beat that. So she's done some shit.
Yeah, she's pretty well known. Yeah,
pretty good. In this movie, she was a trip though.
Yeah, she was. True. Yeah.
So and she's like smoking right away. Like so the first shot when we see all these kids, you could tell this movie is 70s. Like clothes style. Like,
do you think this could ever make a comeback like that? Nowadays,
the style it already has. Actually, this movie remind me more of kids now, like the
hipster kids.
Yeah, the hipster kids now than like the 80s does.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because
most 80s kids are like jock guys want to fuck, and then they have horny girls want to fuck.
Yeah, and they have short pants. And
these girls were not like they were having fun and shit, but nobody was like horny.
No, they were all sophisticated.
Yeah. So the Barbara girl, she is complaining that she is not working now because she got off. So apparently her and this guy who has a huge afro were supposed to do what we're doing. They're playing Santa Claus and stuff. So he has to do Santa Claus, and she is apparently the helper. Okay, and the folk guy says, he can't wait till the little bastards arrive so he can get this shit done with. So somebody calls for Barbara. Okay. And then during this whole thing, we get the killer, and now he's going upstairs into the attic. So first he's climbing up this, like, it had to be a reinforced.
It was a vine. It was a vine where vines grow on. It was like one of those. I don't know what it's called. Like my mother has one. I can't think of it.
I don't know.
It's like it's what you put on the front of your house for vines to grow on.
It's something for serial killers to walk on.
Yeah, it's what your boyfriend used to crawl up on.
Yeah, exactly.
In the 80s to come see you in your bedroom.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's made for. All right, so the Barbara girl, she is talking to her mom now. All right, and during all this, we get shots of the killer walking through in first-person view. Pretty cool too, because he's in the attic. The attic looks crazy.
Yeah, the attic looks like my mother's house.
Yeah, this whole you know what this place reminded me of?
My mom's house.
Yes. Yeah, if your mom had like some big ass house, a bunch of random shit everywhere.
Yeah,
like random.
That's the thing.
Random shit that doesn't even match any of the decorations anywhere. It's all there. So she's on the phone with her mom, and apparently they're all planning to go. I guess they're going to leave the sorority. Like most of the girls are going to leave to go visit their parents for the holiday season. All right, and this Barbara girl, she's kind of drunk right now.
Yeah, they're kind of having a party for the end of the semester at college.
Yeah. So we see like some people kissing. All right, it's like this one. It should be Chris. We see him, and then we see Claire. And they're kissing, and Chris leaves. And then during all this, all we hear Barbara saying, "God damn, Mom, you're a whore." So that's funny. So, so then Barbara hangs up. The mom calls again, and no, so somebody calls again. All right, and then Barbara's answered the phone, and she's all they can hear the voice, and then she says, "Hey, everybody, come over here." And then this is when we hear the first round of creepy voices. So it's a bunch of pig noises. This guy is just saying every kind of, like, you know.
As we're calling him cunt.
Yeah, let me like it, you pretty big cunt.
Yeah, let me lick your cunt.
Yeah,
you
you're
pretty
going
pink cunt.
Yeah, so during all this stuff, the girls are kind of like playing around with them because apparently they just think it's some practical joker. And Barbara's all kind of like, yeah, whatever, you dick. And then we get this very serious, "I'm going to kill you." And the phone hangs up.
Hello? 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 Hey, quiet! It's him again! The Mona!
He's expanded his act. Could that be one person? No, Claire, that's the Mormon Tabernacle Choir doing their annual obscene phone call.
Let me stick my tongue up your leg. You big cunt. You big cunt. You big cunt. Let me lick it. Lick it. Lick it. Let me lick your pretty piggy cunt. Pretty big cunt. Pretty big cunt. I made your pretty big clit. I'm like a tuning fork, baby.
Not bad.
Suck my juicy cock. I'll come over and you can suck it. Suck it. Okay.
Listen, you pervert, why don't you go over to Lambakai? They could use a little of this.
Oh, you piggy cunt. You want my fat cock too?
Oh, why don't you go find a wall socket and stick your tongue in it? That'll give you a charge.
I'll stick my tongue up your pretty pussy.
You fucking creep!
I'm going to kill you.
So during all this, that Claire girl, she's actually pretty freaked out about this. And Barbara's giving her some shit. All right? Saying, "Oh, you're just a pussy, just some guy." All right? And then she's like, no, it's true. Like, I just heard, like, you know, remember that story of this town girl? She was raped? I was like, all right, that just came out of nowhere. So Claire's, so basically, you know, Barbara and Claire go back and forth. And then Claire's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go pack." And this is where we also meet her friend Jess. So Jess is very close with Claire. All right?
And they're having this moment where they're having this back and forth.
Yeah, and also too,
between Barbara and Claire, because Barbara, it seems to be in the sorority house.
Yeah.
She seems to be the party girl because she's always drinking and smoking and shit.
Yeah. She's kind of like the girl that doesn't give a fuck. She's like the hippie of the 70s.
Yeah, she's pretty wild, and Claire is the very uptight virgin. She's a very...
Yeah.
Well, there's jokes about her being a virgin.
Yeah, because Barbara calls her a virgin.
Yeah.
So we get this old lady walk in. Oh boy, wait till we talk about her. So Claire she's now hugging her cat. Okay. And she starts to pack. And then we notice that the killer is behind the plastic hanging from one of the hangers.
Yeah, in her closet.
Yes.
Which is a pretty cool scene, I have to admit. I really did like that scene where he's staring at her through the plastic in her closet, because which is a spacious closet, to be honest with you, because he was able to get way back there in the closet and hide behind her clothes.
There's a deep room in there. So she's calling out for the cat during the whole time, and then she eventually goes up to the closet, and then she gets choked out.
With the plastic bag that he was looking through.
Yeah, with the plastic bag. And we see, and she basically has her mouth open, her eyes wide, and it stays like that for like the whole movie. Mm-hmm. So the old lady, which we find out her name is Mrs. Mack. She shows off some dress, and all the girls are loving her dress, and then they make her put it on. All right? And then she's like, I don't want to put it on, I'm not going to bed. I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's a moo-moo.
Yeah, so now after this, the killer, he's now walking upstairs, back it up to the attic. All right, so Mrs. Mack is now in the study, okay, and she needs to find a book, and she found a book with her first round of liquor in it. So this girl is kind of like MacGyver, where she can just like make things and place things instead of making objects to save her. She hides in very new places of hiding alcohol everywhere.
Yeah, kind of like an alcoholic.
So if you guys have eggnog with you, okay, if you have spiked eggnog with you right now, I want you to take a little swig, because this is the first of many times we'll have some Mrs. Mack drinking. Okay, and she drinks a good swig of it too. So our girl Jess walks in. Jess actually looks pretty good. I think she looked the hottest one of all of them. The Jess girl?
Yes.
She obviously she was British too. She had a little British accent.
Apparently she's Argentinian and English. Yeah. Yes. British.
And she actually looks like kind of like girls from nowadays too. Like
with the straight hair.
Yeah, straight hair, yeah. The furry, the freaking busty hair doesn't come until a couple years later. So Mrs. Mack's like, oh, I'm thank you for all your girls and stuff. And she says all the girls are so good to her all the time. So this is when the phone rings.
And who she is, like Miss Mack, it took me a minute to find out who this woman is, but she's kind of in sororities back then, they used to have, like on the college campuses, they used to have which is like a housewife or whatever, or a house, like she would be the one that would watch over the girls. She was much older, because Miss Mack is probably like in her 50s. And so they used to have an older woman watch over them. But apparently this woman is equally more wild as the rest of them.
Yeah. Her and Barb probably get along like fantastic. So we get a call, and it's our boy, Peter. Oh, boy. Oh, man. This guy was something. He calls for Jess. He calls for Jess, and then during all this stuff, Jess... Oh, she's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And Peter's all like, listen, I just did this. I was up for 3 days practicing my piano. And, I'm sorry I'm being kind of like rude to you right now.
But I don't want to talk to you. I want to go to bed. And she's like, oh, okay.
Because he's basically just calling her like to check in. But like, apparently Jess has something serious she wants to talk with Peter with. But she doesn't want to do it over the phone. She wants to do it face to face. So you could tell like their relationship is kind of weird, because he does the dreaded, he does the dreaded, I love you, and she does, I know you do. Damn. We're going to be hating on our boy Peter. He had a nice little turtleneck and stuff. Come on.
You seem like a douchebag, that's why.
Oh boy. So
he needs to go back up to Hal and talk to him about his relationship with Juliet.
Yeah, there you go. Do you guys have your eggnog ready? Because Mrs. Mack's there, she's brushing her teeth, and she has to find something to rinse the toothpaste out with. So she finds her She finds her other hidden liquor, which was underneath the toilet, top part of the toilet.
I need to hide my stash that way. She had some good ideas.
Yeah, I know. She had a little string in there and everything, bro. Fine to go. She's taking another swig of it. I guess like she can't show that she's drinking.
Right, she's got to be a example to the rest of them.
Yeah, and then she looks at that dress all the girls liked, and she says she hates it. So now Jess is trying to check on Claire. All right, and then we see Claire, now she's dead in a chair. Okay, and at first I was like, man, nobody's going into this room, but it's explained a little bit later. So we get a shot of this town center with the big ass clock, and we see this old guy standing around, and he's standing, and what happens? He gets hit in the fucking face with a snowball. Godly. So he's talking to this guy apologizes to him, saying, oh, I'm sorry I didn't see you there. And then the old guy's like, listen, man, I'm trying to find my daughter. She was supposed to meet me here. He's like, who's your daughter? He's like, my daughter's name is Claire. He says, do you know a girl named Claire? He goes, yeah, I think I know a girl named Claire. She's part of a sorority. I saw some of the girls here earlier, but I didn't see her there. He's like, well, where can I find the sorority house at? And he's all like, he tells him where the sorority house is. Okay, so now the dad, he's in the sorority house, and he's in one of the girls' rooms. I guess it's the Claire girl's room. So now we know Claire has been moved. Okay? And he's looking around, and literally there's like a bunch of like sex posters everywhere. Freedom girl, hippie stuff. And he's all like, one of the funniest lines is like, I didn't send my daughter to college to drink and have a lot of sex. And then during this whole time, Mrs. Mack is like calming him down, saying, oh, the girls are fine, and she's trying to hide herself from all these posters and stuff. And then Mrs. Mack is like, hey, I need to go downtown. Can you please drive me there? All right. So she comes up to the stairs. She runs into the cat. The cat kind of freaks her out. She drops all of her shit on the floor. And she's kind of also, too, when she's in the mirror, you can see that she's kind of like one of those older ladies that will be fake to yourself and then just be pissed off a little later, like saying like,
yeah. she's fake. She'll say she'll be very nice to you up front, but then she'll talk shit.
Yeah.
And she also cusses and it's like, wow, why am I doing this? Why do I? Yeah. This guy's an idiot.
So we're getting a relationship that the cat is like around everywhere and she can never find the cat. All right. And then she eventually runs back into the dad, which is Mr. Harrison. So it's Claire's dad. And then they leave. And then during this, we can see our boy, the killer, which I'm guessing his name was Billy because he kept saying it all the time. And he is now freaking out up in the attic with Claire, his dead body.
Yeah, with Claire's dead body being in the chair.
Yeah, and the guy, okay, so I probably played his voice on here, for little drop tracks. But man, he had a pretty creepy, he had to be like a schizophrenic or something.
Yeah.
Like something like that, multiple personalities or something. Because he sounded like a bunch of different characters on his phone calls and stuff.
And also I love the fact that this killer was hiding in the attic. Yeah. Which was a fear of mine. That's always kind of been a weird fear of mine and
nobody ever thought to check the attic.
No one ever thought to check the attic. But that's kind of freaky because there's been incidences that's happened. That people have hidden in the attic, which the director based this off of.
Yeah.
So that's something that could happen.
Yeah, I can get, you can see how, back in the day, what I mean? They probably didn't think of that kind of stuff.
No, they didn't think this kind of stuff occurred.
Like, you can't even think anybody can live up in an attic. So it's like, how would they even know? They could even go up there. Oh, this scene. Okay, so now we're with Peter and we're with Jess. Mm. And Jess says to Peter, I'm pregnant.
Bum.
Okay, and then Peter, he's by his piano because he's a pianist. I can never say that. I can never say that right.
Say it again.
Pianist.
Pianist.
I just want to say pianist the whole time. Listen, I know everybody's all like, shut up, Greg. Anyway. Okay. So this whole conversation is kind of like a very serious topic. Basically, Jess, she's all like, listen, I don't want to have this baby. I want to have an abortion. And right when I heard this, I was like, man, this is 1974. Sounds like today. I was like, so Peter wants the baby. So it's like something that can like really happen. I guess it's even happening back in the day. So
well, this was back then, this was a really touchy subject because I remember my mom talking about this, saying, because she was around the age of these girls during that time. And she was saying that like you could be shunned by your whole family for an abortion or for all these things, for things that she was saying, I don't want to do. I don't want a child. Like, you could be shunned and by your family and by society, and everybody would talk about you. Like, women didn't get an abortion. If you got pregnant, you had the baby.
Yeah. So our boy, Peter's like, listen, I want you to have this baby and stuff. And she's like, no, I made up my mind. And they're kind of going back and forth. All right. And Peter's like, listen, I got this stuff to practice for. And he's pissed off. And then he's like, you should just leave. And then Peter, before she leaves, is like, listen, I need you to meet me tonight. And she's like, why? We don't need to discuss this any further. He's like, please just meet me tonight and we'll talk about this. So they're going to go talk a little bit more about him wanting the baby and wanting to do things. And now, so Jess's case is basically she wants to do things and do life things she can't do with taking care of a child.
Right, and he's also pissed off at her because he has an important piano recital, or not a recital, but like a audition for the school, and he needs to prepare for it, and he thinks that her coming to him with this also is screwing him up, and he's like, we need to talk later. I don't have time for this. We'll talk later. Which is another douchebag thing.
Yeah.
Peter, you're a douchebag. You need to calm down.
Amen. Trying to do that. He hasn't slept for 3 days. He's on heavy pressure right now.
Yeah, he's probably on a lot of cocaine too.
Yeah. So now we see the dad. He's on the phone right now. I guess he's trying to call up the cops. So this is when we get the Barbara, and she's giving some kids because they're not the kid and the Santa, giving some shit.
Oh, that was my favorite line. He's like, "This is a bunch of shit. This is fucking stupid." Blah blah blah. And he's talking shit, and the little kid sits on his lap, and he's still talking shit. He's cussing.
All right. So now we're back at the house. Jess answers the phone. And she thinks it's Billy. No. Just answer the phone, and then now we're hearing that voice again, which is Billy, the killer. He's saying a bunch of crazy... He does this a lot, too. You guys could take a freaking eggnog shot with this one, too, of how many times we get some phone calls from our boy Billy. And it's all weird. It's always like, Billy's like, hey, don't pick on Billy. It's some sort of like weird story going on every time we hear these phone calls. So we're at the police station now. All right? And we have Barb's there. And Phil's there, and then the dad's there too. And they're telling the police about, hey, how Claire's missing now. And this fucking police officer, Nash, he doesn't believe the girl is like missing. He's basically saying, like, listen, this missing girl, she's probably off with her boyfriend somewhere camping out, just like usual. All right, so basically blowing them off.
Prototypical 1970s idiot cop.
Yeah. So they're back at the house now, and now Miss Mac has arrived, and Jess tells her about the weird phone calls. All right, and then now the Miss Match tells about the dad, Claire's dad, coming to town, and now Jess is like, oh man, I didn't get to see her off. He's like, well, you might have not, because they can't find Claire now. And of course, during all this, Mrs. Mac, take your eggnog shot, is trying to find more liquor. That's the third one.
Yeah, she looks in the box and she can't find it.
Yeah. So our boy, the officer, he wants the number to the sorority house now. And Barbara said it is 1-800-fellatio.
Not 1-800. It was like fellatio 101 or 60 something. Yeah.
101 sounds good.
1-800-fellatio.
Yeah, 1-800. I bet that's a real number, brother. Just call him right up. You'll get it.
I don't know if it's any consolation, but 90% of the time, girls are reported missing from the college. They're at a cabin somewhere with a boyfriend.
Thanks. But that's not much consolation.
Could you give me the number at the sorority house? Please.
Yeah, sure. It's, fellatio 20880. Fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
It's a new one on me. How do you spell it?
Capital F, GTIO. Thanks.
So the cop didn't know what fellatio means, so he actually writes it down.
Yeah.
And then she actually spells it out for him too, and she's laughing, of course. So now we're back with Jess. She finds Chris, and Chris is playing hockey now. All right, and then she tells him the whole story about how Claire's missing. The police kind of blew them off of not trying to find her, and now Chris is pissed. So now,
oh, man.
Okay, so, this part's funny too. We're back with Peter. This is exactly what I wrote in my notes. Peter plays violent piano in front of a bunch of white old people. He is freaking out on this piano. Like, he's like, I mean, was this like violent piano lessons or violent piano time or something? And these guys are very serious looking at him. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, this guy is like, he is like getting into it. Like, I never seen anybody play piano like our boy Peter did. No wonder he was freaking smashing it a couple of minutes later. All right, so now we get this mom. All right, and she's talking to Lieutenant, which is close to Lieutenant Fuller, about her missing daughter, Janet. All right, and then during all this, Chris walks in and he is pissed. He's all like, that fucking Nash guy, he blew my fucking girlfriend Claire's missing report off. I'm going to talk to the lieutenant. This
Fuller.
guy can't, yeah, I want to talk to Fuller. This guy can't do his job. So he just walks in on Fuller, and Fuller's talking to this fucking sad mom. Chris just walks in with his little fucking fur coat on.
Yeah, Chris is... Okay, this is 1974.
Bro, his fur coat was huge, bro.
It wasn't even a fur... That was like a mink coat. It was legit.
I wonder if he choked out that bear or something. They put that shit on him. All right, so they're going back and forth, and now the lieutenant guy's like worried about like, oh great, I got two missing kids now. So he's trying to like, the Fuller guy's trying to figure out what he could do to kind of, you know, solve these two mysteries. So we're back at the house now. All right, and the Miss Mac's making everybody dinner, and the dad's there, Phil's there, and Barbara's there. All right, and of course they're all worried about Claire. And this is when we get the girl Barbara. She's pretty fucked up right now. She's probably been sipping some of that liquor from Mrs. Mac's stashes.
Well, she's been drinking that. Yeah, she's been pretty much drinking all day.
So she's basically saying, she's talking about turtles and how they have sex for 3 days straight. And she's like, I can't even get sex for 30 minutes. And these damn turtles get it for 3 days. And then she goes on to talk about zebras and how they last for 30 minutes. And she thought that was really funny because I guess like all the boys she's had has lasted for 30 minutes. And then she goes, now she's very serious now.
30 minutes is even a little long. I think she said...
No, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. That's right.
30 minutes. Don't mention it.
42, detail number.
Did you know, this is a very little known fact, but did you know that there's a certain species of turtle that can screw for 3 days without stopping? You don't believe me, do you? Well, I mean, how could I make something like that up?
Barb, dear.
No, really, they just 3 days, 24 hours a day. Can you believe that? 3 days? I'm lucky if I get 3 minutes. Do you know how I know this? Because I went down to the zoo and I watched them. It was very boring. Well, actually, I didn't stay for the whole 3 days. I went over and I watched the zebras because they only take 30 seconds. Premature ejaculation.
You know, hey, man, hey, you're not like me, Space Mountain, an hour man. All right, you know, 60-minute. They don't call me the 60-minute man for nothing.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Listen, bro, I got.
I heard you're a one-hit quit it.
I ain't no one-hit quit it, bud. Whatever. You know what? Don't worry about it. So during this, she got really serious, just like I'm getting right now with you, Matt. She's all like, just say what you guys are thinking. You think I did it? You think I drove this Claire away? You think I made her kill herself or some shit? And with this dad, I kind of feel bad for him because he's like, what the fuck's wrong with these kids?
Yeah, he was kind of caught in the middle of this.
He feels like me and you now when we see these fucking marked kids around here everywhere. Like, what's wrong with these damn kids today? They're fucking sex and fellatios. Back in my day, brother, we had a good old-fashioned head. All right. So the girl, the Afro girl, her name is Phil, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think her full name is Phyllis because they
said Phil in this name.
I know, but I think it's a short for Phyllis.
Yeah. Damn dogs! God, we got everything. We got dogs. We got leaf. But this is definitely Christmas Eve. You got leaf blowers hanging out. I feel like that guy from A Christmas Story right now. Got the damn cats everywhere, broken in, breaking my legs. Shout out to Christmas Story here on Black Christmas. Black Christmas Eve. So and the Barbie girl is pissed now, and basically the Philip girl tells her, "Oh, you're just drunk. Go to bed." So she goes to bed. Peter is now pissed, so he starts breaking his piano.
Yeah, he has a mic stand and he starts whacking it
but honestly,
over and over.
I guess the guys like, I wonder what I wish I could have heard what these like guys said, how much he sucked or something. It's like, yeah, Chris. Yeah, Peter. You were just a little bit too intense. What? I was intense. Fuck you guys. Breaks the fucking piano. It's like Mick Jagger on that damn thing.
And
so now Chris and Jess, they show up and they just start talking to the dad. And during this, we see some more creepy shots in the background. And then during all this, because like they're basically showing them all talking, but inside the house, and as the audience, we're all outside the house now. So they all leave. And it's all of them. Basically, they're going to be doing a police search now. So apparently, Chris and the Jess convinced Lieutenant Fuller to do a search party with the town to go find these two missing girls. All right. So they all leave to go join, and the only one that stays around is Miss Mac, and of course Barbara. She's sleeping upstairs because she got all fucked up off that eggnog liquor, brother. So now we got Fuller. He's telling everybody to, go split up, go find everybody. They were last seen outside this park. Okay. So we get a crazy figure looking at the house now, and we get Miss Mac. She starts singing. Take a shot again while she's drinking. Bro, but she must be crazy around the holiday, just sipping that drink.
Crazy 24/7. Like she's always drinking.
I wonder if this had to be all on the same day, man. She's had that many liquor bottles. Her liver must hate her. All right, so now she hears the cat. All right, and no. The cat is now licking the dead Claire
in the attic. Yeah, Claire's up in the attic, and the cat's like playing and licking with the bag that's over her face.
So now Miss Mac hears the cat, and the cat's name is Claude. So she's like, Claude, Jerry, Claude. Oh boy, wrong movie. Sorry. Check out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know how many times we have to go over this. That every slasher movie we seem to have been watching for the past couple of months has had a moment of someone walking through somewhere screaming someone's name.
Yeah.
Calling out for them. And we all know, after watching these movies for as long as we have, that doesn't end well for you.
No. And it didn't end well for our girl, too. She's looking for the cat. And it's like a big scene. She's all...
I know I'm going to die if I start walking out somewhere and going, Greg! Greg!
We're all like... I'm just like, you leave? Matt, can you hear me? I said your name, Matt. Like, that's going to help any.
No.
My favorite, though, is when they drown it out. Like, they don't just say, like Matt. They're like, Matt. All right, so eventually, those dogs are freaking out over there, bro. They must hear Mrs. Mac climbing up the attic now. And she's looking for the cat in the attic because she felt like the cat went up the attic.
Oh, she can hear it. Yeah, she can hear it in there.
So, and apparently there's a taxi outside because I guess Mrs. Mac was gonna like fucking flee out of here. I guess I don't know why. I guess maybe because she ran out of liquor, she wanted to go find more. So the killer is
no. She's leaving for the holidays because everybody's leaving for the holidays.
God, I wonder who she's gonna go visit.
Probably the liquor store.
the bar. So the killer's there, and he set a trap. And this part was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He basically, like, she comes up there, and Miss Mac sees the dead Claire hanging out in the rocking chair. She freaks out, and then the killer just throws, like, a fucking,
it was
what was that thing? It's, like, basically like a hook.
Yeah, it was a hook on, it was like a crane hook.
Yeah, randomly up in there in the attic.
Yeah, right. Like, well, I think back then they used to, okay,
That's
yeah,
how
I
they
know
would
what
get
it's for. Yeah, they would get stuff into the attic with that crane hook.
Okay.
That was on a rope, so they would pull it all up there.
Yeah, so our boy Billy used it for a dead weapon. This scene was actually pretty crazy.
Whacked her in the face.
Ugh.
And then pulls her up through the attic. That was great.
Yeah. Oh boy.
You didn't have to see like the blood or anything in this, but it was just you hear the sound.
Yeah, there wasn't that much blood, and then when there was, it actually looked kind of tacky.
But it was effective though. Like just the sound made us both flinch.
Yeah. So now the taxi cab comes in, and he's like, "Is anybody there? Is anybody there?" And then he just leaves. And then the taxi leaves, and then we're up in the attic now, and the killer starts freaking out and pushing and breaking everything in sight. There's a bunch of random shit up here. Matt, looked like your house. It looked like somebody went through Matt's house and started pushing shit around everywhere while making crazy noises. All right, so now Chris and the dad and Phil, they're all warming up by the fire because I guess they have not found anybody yet. So now we hear two girls screaming, all right? And they basically found the dead girl, Janice, now. And then the mom finds it, the dad looks at it. So the dad, the Claire's dad looks at it, and everybody's kind of shocked now because they found this dead girl hanging out in the woods. Now we never got to see what this girl looked like, or we didn't see this murder at all. But we're guessing that Billy had something to do with this murder. Maybe this was his Agnes that he kept talking about. So I don't know. We didn't really.
No, her name was something else.
No. Her name was Janet, but maybe Billy called her Agnes. Maybe they knew each other. I don't know. This part didn't really go anywhere with the mom and her dead body and her dead daughter. So I think
it was his first victim establishing.
Yeah. So the phone rings again, and who's to answer it? Of course, it's Jess, because she's back at the house. This is when we hear a bunch of weird noises again, and then now Jess, she's freaks out now. She's freaking out, because obviously she just saw the dead body, and now she thinks these phone calls are more than just like some guy playing around. Some crazy shit going on. And, it's a bunch of weird stuff, but, and then we keep getting, like, less things, and he keeps calling himself Billy and stuff. I played a little bit for you guys to kind of show you what it sounds like. So Jess she's now asking around, she's asking the house for Mac. Where the hell is Mrs. Mac at? All right. So now we see why she's calling. And it took her, like, forever. I didn't know who she was calling at first, but apparently she was calling the police station. But it took her, like, 5 numbers or something. They must have like a weird number back in the day. And then we see this creepy figure call down the stairs and then grabs her on the shoulder. And who is it? It's none other than our boy Peter. He shows up. They both scare each other. All right. He said he was upstairs asleep because he wanted to meet her. All right. And then she's all like saying like, "Hey, I can't talk right now. We just found this dead girl out there, and this guy's making some weird stuff." And then
and my friend is missing.
Yeah, her friend's missing. Claire's missing and stuff. And then she's on the police station, and they keep telling her to hold. So during all this stuff, this is when they start going on, and Peter's like, "I want this baby," all right. And there's not a really good time to talk right now about that situation. Yeah. So she talks to the police again. All right, and this is when the dad is showing up now. So this is when the Jess's phone call goes to Fuller. All right, and Fuller is on there, and she basically says like, "Hey, I'm getting these weird phone calls and stuff." No, she gives a call to Nash, and then Nash gives the note to Fuller. Okay.
Because.
Yeah. Oh, and our boy Nash, you know what his line was when Jess was talking. Nash was like, "All right, listen, this is probably just some boyfriend playing a joke around on you guys."
Yeah, and Chris and Phil and Claire's dad are at the police station while this is going on because they're all crowding around because of the recent murder they just found.
Yeah.
And they start looking at Nash like he's a fucking idiot because they hear the address of where it's coming from about crazy phone calls, and they realize it's from her. And they're like, wait a minute, it's all connected. And then they bring it to Fuller, and he's like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, and then during it's our boy Peter. All right?
He had a fucking mental breakdown during this.
Yeah, so basically his big thing is he wants to leave what was this place called? The Consortium?
Yeah, something like, I can't think of what the...
Basically where you learn to be
a pianist. Say it.
A pianist. Did I say it?
Yeah, you said it right. Great.
I always want to say pianist. So basically, this is our boy Peter's idea. He wants to quit his dream of being a famous piano player. He wants to get married, and then our girl Jess, alright, she's not an 80s girl where she'll just fall for him anywhere. She's like, listen, I remember you saying you had all these great dreams of being a great piano player. I have dreams of my own, and we can't do that while we're married. He said, yeah, we could still do all that when we're married. She's like, no, we can't do that when we're married. And, Peter, I don't want to marry you. Oh, man. But you know what, Peter? He's not getting the job done, that's his problem. So now Peter is, he's pretty upset now. All right, so now the cop Nash, the dumb one, he brings the note, the phone call to the detective Fuller. All right, and this is on the dad on all crews there, and he brings the phone number of the sorority house to the cop, and the cop starts to laugh. This random cop starts to laugh in the background, and I didn't realize what it was at first, and then Matt pointed out to me what it was is this Nash guy really wrote down the fellatio, has the phone number to the sorority house. And then both the cops were laughing. This one cop was like having the time of his life in this movie. He's laughing at everything Nash did. All right. And then eventually the Fuller was like, Nash, what is this? It's like, yeah, it's fellatio. That's the number to the house. He's all like, you couldn't pick your nose unless you had directions. And then our boy Nash is like, it says something naughty, doesn't it? All right. Oh boy, here this. Peter is now pissed
again,
and he breaks part of the Christmas tree. Oh
what
God!
Passive aggressive behavior.
And then he said,
"You break the Christmas tree."
He said, "You selfish bitch! You can't be fucking having this abortion."
I'm the father. I won't let you.
He doesn't want her to abort the baby. Jess tells him to leave. And he said, you will be sorry if you had this abortion. So he leaves. And right while Peter's leaving, he runs into Fuller, Philo, and this new guy called Graham, which is the phone tech guy. And of course, our boy Fuller looks at Peter like, who's this pissed off guy in a turtleneck? So the whole thing is now Phil tells him, tells Claire and everybody, like, hey, we brought these cops over, and this guy Graham, he's gonna like tap your phone, so the caller calls, we can figure out where his location is. All right, so Graham starts doing all his phone connected thing. So now they're up in Claire's room now. All right, it's just Phil and Fuller, and then he's talking to Fuller about asking if she had any emotional problems. He also asked, like, is she seeing anybody besides Chris? And during this part, Chris is nowhere to be found. I don't know where the fuck. He's probably playing hockey or something. Who knows what this motherfucker's doing?
I need a drink.
Yeah, then the Fuller asks, like, basically who all saw her last and everything, and what's all the names and numbers to all the girls. And then they talk a little bit about Mrs. Mack. All right, and then Phil, or just one of the two, brings up, like, oh, we had a girl named Barb too, and she's in the house sleeping. And then Fuller was like, was that Barb at the station earlier? And they're like, yes. And then he starts to laugh. He says, let her sleep. So he likes a little joke that they did on Nash. Okay, so Graham's he's now fixed the phone, and he's now saying like, the phone's ready to get tapped. And then Fuller also shows the two girls like, hey, everything will be okay. There's a cop outside. And then so basically the plan is now, everybody, that Fuller is gonna go back to the police station, and when the killer calls, they need whichever one of them, Phil or Jess, to stay on the line.
And keep him on the line.
They kept saying this. This Graham guy was like, keep it on the line.
Well, he's trying to find it. Yeah.
So, and he's gonna go back there, but there's a cop there to stay, and then eventually he leaves, and then when Fuller leaves, we get a shot of Peter crying out in the woods now. God. Kind of feel bad for our boy Peter a little bit. I mean, he had a bunch of people tell him he sucks at his dream job. He has a girl that he loves. She's pregnant now. Now I guess he couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, she wants to abort his baby.
Oh man, bad luck. This guy. We'll get to more of his bad luck later. All right. So now, okay. So Claire is now rocking. All right, and she's rocking in that room now. And there's a creepy voice in the background, and now Claire is rocking, and there's like a doll, one of Bethany's dolls, is hanging out with her on the chair. I don't know if you saw that part. It's pretty sweet. Yes, it's
one
true.
Of Bethany's dolls.
It's true. One of the hell-born babies, baby. Right next to our dead girl Claire at the little
in 1974.
In 1974, swear. All right, so now Jess, she's by the fire. Okay, and Fuller, he's by his phone, not by a fire in the police station. Killer calls him. All right. So, the killer is still in the house. He's in the attic, and he's coming down now. He's lurking around the upstairs. Jess hears Barbara, and Barbara freaks out. So she's having an asthma attack right now. All right. And our girl Barbara said she had a nightmare. She dreamed that some stranger was in her room watching her sleep.
Which was true, because Billy, our killer, was in there looking at her.
And then now she goes back to sleep, saying it was all a dream.
Talking about Agnes again.
Agnes.
Yeah, Agnes.
Wake up, Agnes.
Wake up. Seriously, you sound like that too. Oh boy, this part. So kids are now singing outside. Fucking little brats singing these Christmas carols. You don't see a lot of that nowadays.
No, they'd be shot at.
Damn, man. Okay. I ain't going to your house singing any damn Christmas songs.
Hell no, you better not.
All right, so Jess at first looks through the window. Now she starts listening to them. This is a cool scene. So boy Billy walks through the door now. He's upstairs, and he goes into Barbara's room. And during all this stuff, we get clips of just watching the carolers. And he's all like, "It's me, Billy." And then he takes this thing.
Agnes.
It's
me, Billy.
It's Billy.
I mean, it was creepy, but there was moments that were really funny with his voice, because he would keep. It's like, it's Billy.
We got the plan, Agnes. So he actually takes like this glass figure of like a unicorn.
Oh man!
And he stabs the shit out of this girl in the stomach. This part was pretty creepy.
Yeah, they do really great cut scenes.
Yeah, because you also see we don't see his face, but we see his weird, crazy eye.
Yeah, I think the light or something shined on his eye, and you can only see he was in full shadow, but you can only see his eye. And they had this great cut scene that was between them singing, the carolers outside singing. And then it would cut between back and forth of this really brutal, yet again not showing the actual stabbing.
Yeah.
Of the actual blood and everything like that, but you get to hear the sound and you see her hand fly in the air, and it was really well done.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too. So we got this old lady. She tells the kids to get in the car from their, like, I guess their other parent. And then the old lady goes up to Jess and says, hey, there's a little girl killed in the park. And she's like, I know. And then the phone rings. All right. And then now it's the killer on the phone now. So they start tracing the car, the phone. All right. And we get more weird noises.
Yeah,
another shot for everybody.
The craziest thing about this is that I guess how they did this. I mean, this is this is an old time kind of deal. It wasn't that cops could trace the phone call with like some kind of beeping device. Some kind of GPS or device that they have now. You actually had to run around in this huge, nearly looked like a factory or a large room or area that had multiple shelves of links that went to multiple phones. And this guy is hearing the phone call goes on, and he's having to run up and down trying to find exactly where it's coming from so they can find out exactly where he's calling from. Yeah. And I think that's really cool because that's using the tension of the scene of this dude running around trying to find this phone number, knowing that this is the only way they're going to find the killer.
Yeah, and then so during this, apparently the killer said some stuff that just reminded the person of Peter.
Yeah, he repeated what Peter said.
Yeah, about you'll be sorry if you kill this baby. So eventually the killer hangs up. Billy hangs up. All right, the Fuller calls back, said we got to keep on the phone for longer. We couldn't trace him. And then now Fuller's asking like, hey, did this killer said anything that reminds you of anybody? And she's like, no. All right. So now our girl Jess is talking to Phil, and she's like, man, the guy kind of sounded like Peter a little bit because he said something exactly what Peter said at the end.
Which is this is a red herring.
Yeah. So and then also too during this time, Fuller has to call Jess back because apparently a farmer shot a cop in the dick. So
yes, ladies and gentlemen, that actually happens in this movie.
So
no, he shot him in the ass. He shot him in the ass.
The ass? Okay.
Yeah, he shot him in the ass.
This cop was like, they're trying to search all the houses and stuff. So
yeah, and when he was out there, someone shot him with a buckshot in the ass.
Yeah. So okay. So during all this stuff, when Phil and Jess are talking about Peter, she's like kind of like, oh man, this has to be the guy. So Peter actually calls up and he starts crying, saying, you can't kill this baby, you can't kill our baby. And of course, now Fuller is hearing this whole conversation. All right. And then when he hangs up, now Fuller calls back, says, what's all this stuff about Peter and his baby and stuff? And she's all like, it's not Peter. He would never hurt anybody. He's not a bad guy.
He was here with me.
Yeah, he was here with caller. Yeah, he was here with me, and because she kind of remembers, like, because the Fuller guy's like, okay, well, was he there during any of these phone calls? And she's like, yes, he was there during the first one. He was in the same house as I was. So, boom, that could be a little clue. Maybe it was our boy Peter. All right. And then they also talk about Peter's weirdness, and then just said, like, when he gets all upset and stuff, he goes to his piano hall. All right. So now our boy Fuller has his first suspect. And then now Jess is feeling good about Peter not being the criminal because Peter was with the girl. All right. In the house. So, and then now this is when Fuller says, I just need you, when the killer calls back, to stay on the line more so we can get him. All right. So now the Fuller guy is telling cops to work more in neighborhoods, to spread out more. So Jess now needs an aspirin. We get some random guys showing up to her house, and they're from the search party, and this part was pretty unnecessary, so I'm just going to skip it.
Well, this part
was only the lead in to tell everybody to lock their doors.
Yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of I guess it was trying to be a comedy scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically they're searching the neighborhood for the killer, and
so
it
now
was these two dudes.
Now we're back, and the girls laugh at them because they're like dorky. So and then they realized, oh, we gotta lock the doors in the house now. So now we're back with Fuller. He asked Nash to call up the police person and give records of Peter and then grab a car because we're gonna go visit this motherfucker. Alright? So now Phil and Jess, they lock the doors and windows. Alright? Phil goes into Barbara's room, and right when she does, the door slams on her. So now Fuller is at the piano hall, and he's looking at the piano that fucking Peter fucked up earlier. He's probably like, man, this guy must have sucked at his fucking passion. Alright, so now Jess...
that was an expensive piano. I can't believe you fucked that thing up.
So, of course, we get the whole Jess calling for Phil. Phil, Jerry. The phone rings. We hear more pig noises from our boy, Billy. It says, fat pig, bitch pig, girl freaking. Now that, Jesse's freaking out. And, I'll probably play a lot of this. He's just saying random shit, basically.
Hello?
You pig. You fat pig. You pig. You bitch pig. I want a drink, baby. No, really? No.
So now the cop tells, a cop radios to Fuller. Comes in the piano room, tells Fuller, like, hey, the killer's on the phone now. So the cops rush back to the car, and during this, we hear all those, like, freaky noises by Billy on the phone. And during this long conversation, the long phone call thing, the phone people now realize where the phone call was coming from, and it's coming from...
You skipped a part.
What part was it?
What happened to Phil?
Oh, yeah, no. I said that. Phil goes into Barbara's room, and now she's got locked in there. And now,
that's right.
So basically, what we're led to believe is, see, Matt never pays attention to the.
Well, I'm paying attention, but I'm not paying. It's not that I didn't pay attention to the movie. It's just like you misdirected me in a direction, or you're misdirecting the audience, the podcast listeners, into thinking that Phil is not in the room and what's the pig noises.
No. So basically,
so you're hearing in the background of what's going on is Phil is being murdered on the phone line while Jess is listening to it, and the cops are listening to it, and nobody knows that Phil is being murdered, but you can hear her screaming over the phone, so they just think it's his normal weirdness.
I wonder if he's doing maybe that's where Halloween got the fucking phone death scene, maybe from this movie. Because he had to be choking her with the phone cord, right?
Yeah, maybe.
The phone cord of doom. Those phone cords, man, they're deadly. Gotta be
that's careful. Why they got rid of them.
Yes. So yeah, she's dying in the background as this is happening, and then this is when the Graham guy's like, "Hey, the cop, the phone call is coming from inside the house," and our Fuller guy's like, "Oh shit." Yeah. So he this part's funny.
He fucks this up.
So he calls up Nash, and he's all like, "Hey, Nash. I need you to call this Jess girl up, alright? Tell her to leave straight out of the house, and don't fuck this up, or I'm gonna kill you."
Mommy, come here! Where's Agnes? Agnes! Hey, Mommy. There's a baby. Baby, all right, Mommy.
This is Graham. It's group 140, terminal 55.
Lieutenant Fuller?
Yeah, Nash, what is it?
A phone company's on the other line, sir. They say they got a trace on this one.
Yeah, let's have it.
He says the calls are coming from number 6 Belmont Street.
For Christ's sakes, Nash, you got it wrong. That's where the calls are going into.
That's where they're coming from, too, sir.
Shit. Jennings? 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 Jennings, where the hell are you? Nash? Nash!
Yes, sir.
Look, I can't get through to Jennings. I want you to call that girl. Nash, be calm. Don't tell her that the guy's in the house. Just tell her to put down the phone and walk straight out the front door. I'll be there in 5 minutes. And Nash, if you blow this, I'll kill you.
Okay. Jess picks up the phone call from Nash. Nash tells her to leave the house and don't ask any questions. Jess wants to know some questions. Okay. He says, don't ask any questions. He basically
just go outside now.
Yeah, just go outside now. She's like,
well, let me go get Barb and Phil. And he says, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
And she says, what's going on? He says, the killer is inside the house. She freaks out.
Yeah. No, my favorite part is like, don't go upstairs. Don't go upstairs.
Don't go upstairs, Jess.
So he fucked up.
Phil? Phil, where are you? Please answer me. Hello?
Who is this?
It's Jess.
Miss Bradford, this is Sergeant Nash. Are you the only one in the house?
No. Phil and Bob are upstairs asleep. Why?
All right. Now, I want you to do exactly what I tell you without asking any questions, okay? No questions. Now, just put the phone back on the hook, walk to the front door, and leave the house.
What's wrong?
Please, Miss Bradford, please just do as I tell you.
Okay. I'll get Phil and Bob.
No, don't do that, Jess. Jess, the caller is in the house.
The calls are coming from the house.
Jess!
Jess, get out! And don't go up there. Don't go upstairs, Jess.
That was a really good scene where she starts, like, she actually has, like, she starts screaming for them, for Barb and Phil, because she doesn't want to believe that they're both probably dead.
Phil. Barb.
Phil! Bob! Oh, please answer me.
Not like that, but I mean, it sounded like an actual emotional breakdown.
Yeah, she does pretty good. Please answer. That's what she says.
Yeah.
So now she sees the dreaded fireplace weapons.
Yeah, she gets a fireplace poker.
This has to be the original version
of the fireplace poker use.
Yes. Not like the toy maker where he just
falls on it.
Yeah,
and in the Santa or in the Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it's used to stab another child in the
exactly. All right, so now Jess, what did she do? She defies our Nash boy and she goes upstairs. She sees the dead girls in the room now. All right. And she starts freaking out.
That was quick, though. That was a quick scene.
Yeah, she saw both Phil and Barb, and they're dead on the bed now. And this is a part. So we see Billy's creepy eye, and this is the part we get. Billy, is that you, Agnes? And then this motherfucker just slams the door.
It was cool though. It was cool to see, like, because he was peeking out of the corner.
Yeah. Because
she freaks out and she falls back and she's standing there and she's putting her hand on the door.
Yeah.
And you see him. I couldn't stop laughing when she did this to him. Yeah. But he's peeking out between the space between the door hinge and the door, and he's like, Agnes, is that you?
Is that you?
And she freaks out and she slams the door on him behind the door.
And he freaks.
Agnes, it's me, Billy. Agnes, don't you tell what we did.
chases her throughout the house. If you guys have surround sound, it sounds really cool. And then he's making this weird noise while he's screaming the whole time. And then she eventually locks herself in the basement. And he starts pounding on the basement. And then during this, we see the cops that are rushing to the house now. But this guy was something else, man. I kind of wish we knew who this guy was.
Yeah, I know.
Because he was pretty, like, he was out there. All right, so...
I think that's going to base my next character off of him. He was crazy.
Just saying random shit, yeah. So Jess hears her name through the outside, and we see this guy in the window, and of course, it's our boy Peter.
Yeah, it's walking. Yeah, it starts walking around, and she thinks it's the killer, and she's freaking out, and he starts wiping away the window outside because it's cold and it's frosted on the window, and then she sees that it's Peter, but she thinks now that Peter is the killer, so she starts backing away from into the shadows behind the staircase that leads down to the basement to hide.
Yeah, so now we got our boy Peter in there. Jess? Is that you over there? Jess, are you there? Why aren't you answering me? Goddamn Peter. So Peter's obviously creepy. And he finally sees her, walks up in her, and he's just nonchalant like, why weren't you answering me? Oh my god. Now we were just fighting like 2 minutes earlier, but you know what? I'm used to abusive relationships where girls hate me, so I'm just gonna give you a hug.
Come here, darling.
Come here, darling. So the cops arrive. We hear some screaming. All right, at the sorority house, and they all jump right in. They all break through the fucking basement. They get there, and now they see Jess pass out on the floor with Peter with like some
blood all over his face.
I don't know if that was blood or cranberry sauce. It might have been.
Must be cranberry sauce.
Okay, let's admit
that's not cranberry sauce.
Okay. Yes, exactly. Okay, so Peter's blood on his face in this movie looked like pink, like it looked like Pepto-Bismol or something. Bro.
Yeah, the same thing. Oh, we forgot to mention that the cop's dead outside too.
Yeah, the cop is dead. Yeah.
He got his throat cut, but that was another shot that looked really bad because it looked like someone just stuck meat to the side of his neck, and it just didn't look right. And they were trying to put blood on it, but it looked really fucked up.
Yeah. So now we get Jess. Now she's laying in the sorority bed. And she's passed out. Fuller's there saying the parents are on the way. Some docs there saying like, oh man, when she wakes up, it's going to be hard to talk to her because she's traumatized now. All right, so now they're all like, and then Fuller's like, man, I knew it was that damn Peter guy. Poor Peter, bro.
Poor Peter.
God damn, our boy Peter.
He got hit.
Bro, I feel bad for this guy. A geek. Oh my god. All right, so now the morgue guy saying, I'm taking all these bodies to the morgue. You need any more from me? It's like, damn, bro, okay.
Do you have to say that?
Yeah.
In front of the family?
Yeah, the family. This guy didn't give a shit. He's like, I got the dead ones. Is my job done here? Then they hear a bunch of noises. The reporters hear. The cops like, damn it, take them out. Take them back to the station. We got their families here. Fucking the dad of Claire just ran and he passes out from shock.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And then everybody just leaves, and they all leave. They're fucking just there.
Yeah, and then they turn off the lights and they leave.
And then we hear voices throughout the whole house, and then we're up in the attic now, and the attic still has the dead Mac and Claire there, and we just hear faint voices of Billy everywhere. And then we have outside of the sorority house
a shot of
a cop. And the phone just starts ringing.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie. But I was kind of wondering, like, so they didn't even take this girl to a hospital? They just left her in the fucking killer's house? God, gotcha. Assholes. So that was it, everybody.
That was Black Christmas.
Black Christmas. Original.
The original Black Christmas.
I actually enjoyed this movie.
Yes, I did too.
There was some kind of like boring parts to it, like, some transitional boring parts. But overall... for some reason, like, it didn't show too much gore, too much violence, but some of the killing scenes were pretty creepy.
It was brutal, yeah.
And our boy Billy, man, he was something else.
he was a real fucking crazy person.
He was a creep.
Agnes, is that you?
Is that you, Agnes?
Is that you, Agnes?
And he had one creepy eye, which I liked.
Yeah, and I liked that there wasn't a happy ending to this. That he was still there, and also, for a movie of this period of time, there was not a lot of violence. There, like we said, there wasn't the whole "hey, let's all sleep together," blah blah blah. This was a very sophisticated slasher film, which is very rare.
It was very rare, random or weird to see a sorority house not full of horny girls.
Well, they were, but they weren't.
Bro, compared to
what we've seen.
If they did the remake in the 80s, all these girls would be horny. Barb would be super. She'd be out there. She'd be out there fucking everybody.
I need to show you a house on Sorority Row, then you will freak out, because that's all that is.
That's all it is.
So or a slumber party massacre.
So what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say like some sexist pit. I'm just saying this movie was cool because it didn't have any of that. It was actually like real people. Like the director should get like a fucking. No wonder he got a bunch of rewards, because this did seem like real, which I love.
Yeah, I think he wanted to establish the creepiness of psychotic behavior on Christmas. Yet again, what we have talked about before is that during this period of time, a lot of people's depression and stress and things like that come out on Christmas.
Yeah,
and things can happen, and they do. On Christmas, there is a lot of things that do happen on Christmas, which we've read about. People being killed or suicide rates, everything goes up around this time because it is such a stress. It's really weird because around January, everything calms down again.
Yeah, something about that Christmas, man. It's all crazy. That's why it's Black Christmas. So, everybody check out some of our other reviews that we have on. We have the old Silent Night, Deadly Night, 3, 4, and 5, plus Silent Night. You can find that in our November and December podcast. Of course, tomorrow, everybody check us out, as we'll be doing Black Christmas Remake for Christmas Day. So not only do you get our sweet voices on Christmas Eve, where you get to hear our sweet voices again on Christmas Day. So I'm not sure how the remake's going to be. I doubt it's going to be as good as this movie, because this remake was made in 2006. So you don't know what we're going to be getting, but it should be fun.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
So everybody, if you haven't passed out already on your eggnog, be sure to be not like our boy Peter.
Yeah.
And basically get all parts of your life all fucked up and killed for being a creepo.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Now, gives me an extreme amount of pleasure and privilege to bring up 3 of the people responsible for the incredible film you have just seen. Composer Carl Zittner, star John Saxon, and director Bob Clark. I know that there are lots of unanswered questions that a lot of you have, some of which I'm pretty sure Bob won't answer, but I know that there's plenty of others that he will. So,
I'll answer any question I may lie.
Okay. This gentleman here.
Yes.
Who are Billy and Agnes?
Who are Billy? They're my cousins, and they financed them. I have a whole story, sub-story about Billy and Agnes. They are brother and sister, I'll tell you that much. In my story, they are, Billy has abused his younger sister. There's a history, spoken and unspoken. The unspoken part of it is perhaps Billy killed his parents, perhaps he sealed Agnes up for years. There is a remake being done with a very wonderful team of a young writer-director team, and they're going to go further with the question of Billy and Agnes and Peter. We obviously are pulling a puzzler at the end. Could it have been Peter? There are 2 reasons why it probably couldn't, especially the ending is clearly it couldn't be, because he's still alive. The other one that I think I wasn't quite deft enough is when Peter comes downstairs after the one obscene phone call. He might have had time to do all those things up there, though I doubt it. I wished I had Peter come down to Olivia on the phone with John Saxon a little quicker, so you would have said, gee, I don't see how it could have been Peter. But there are other reasons, if you want to think about him, why it really couldn't have been Peter. He didn't fit some of the criteria that were needed.
Could you talk about Reginald Morris, your cinematographer, and the relationship you had working on the preparation for this?
Okay, this was my first film with Reg, a great cinematographer, the brother of, what's his name, Dan? Oswald Wright was his brother, great English, Oswald Wright. Reggie Morris, Oswald Morris. Reggie was a great technician. We spent elaborate time. We had, I think, nine or 10 weeks to shoot the movie, even though we only had $400,000. Here, because of the difficulty of getting a 30-year-old print, but we spent elaborate time talking about it and planning and thinking this over. And it's not an easy movie in terms of it's light and dark and it's dim, but it was very, very well planned and thought. And we took the time to shoot it, so it worked.
I've read, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've read over the years that you apparently a few years after this were planning a semi-sequel set around Halloween, or that some kind of a follow-up set around Halloween. I don't know if that's true, and if it is true, what your plans were for that at all?
Well, it's part of the story's apocryphal. I'll tell it very quickly. I did a movie 4 years later. I started a movie with John Carpenter, set in the Tennessee mountains with retarded people, and John was a great fan of Black Christmas. That's why he got Warner Brothers to hire me to do this movie. And he said, are you going to do a sequel to Black Christmas? And I said, no, I don't intend to do any more. Your film is my last horror film. I'm not in the business of being a horror filmmaker. It's just a good way to start a career. I'm not ashamed. I'm quite proud of him. And John said, well, if you did do it, what would it be? And I said, well, I would have it that the killer was caught. It's later that year, the next fall, and he has escaped. And he's going back to the sorority house, and I'm going to call it Halloween. But let me say this: John Carpenter wrote a screenplay, directed a movie, cast it, did the music, edited, did all of that. And in fact, the movie was brought to him by the company with the title already on. So I think John, he loved the movie, and I believe he was influenced some by it. But he did not copy my movie, and Halloween is entirely John Carpenter's, and it's one of the greats of its kind.
The sound of the phone calls, was that just your voices, or was there something special?
There were, it's quite a story. There were three of us. I was one of them, Nick Mancuso, young actor who's had quite a career since. That was the beginning of his career, and a young lady whose name I can't remember. And we spent a great deal of time on those voices. We really did. Marty was telling me that Nick, you guys were telling me that Nick said I had him standing on his head to try to create a different sound. So we worked elaborate. We spent probably 2.5, 3 weeks doing those phone calls. And the story elements in it are very important, what he's saying. Nothing contradicts the state of mind that we might pursue in the end of it. But yeah, they're untreated. They're no mechanical, slight reverb and that kind of thing. But they're just our voices. We didn't fake anything with them. And I was curious to see that I thought, first time he spoke, Nick sounded like Keir Delay, and it shocked me. I went, oh, wait a minute.
I read the script. I liked it very, very much. But then was told, it was offered to me, I think, and I accepted. And then I was told that someone called and apologized and said that they had made a mistake. That some other portion of the production had already hired another actor. So I was very disappointed. About a few days later, I got a telephone call and said, from one of my agents, I think it was, could I get on a plane to go to Toronto late in the afternoon, the same day? Apparently the other actor decided not to do the part. And so I took the plane up to Toronto, and the first scene I did, I think about right at the moment I got into the literally was I got makeup, and we worked on that scene in the park where I was with the megaphone until, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning.
The story is actually a little more flattering to John. I had wanted John in the first place. When I first called his agents, there was a conflict. He couldn't do it. So who I did hire was, most of you probably won't remember, a great actor named Edmund O'Brien. Yes, some of you do. He was a great fellow. And I was quite pleased. It was a good choice if I couldn't have John. And Edmund came up to Toronto, and I had the worst day of my life. Edmund was in the first stages, not the first stages, near advanced stages of Alzheimer's. And I spent an hour, more than an hour, about 2 hours in John's room at the hotel while talking to him, because the managers called me to say that there may be a problem, better be careful. And I waited an hour while this man put his coat on. It took him an hour. He could talk well. It was tragic. My heart was broken. He told me how he got on the plane. His 9-year-old son said, "Dad, now you're working. It's all going to be okay." Oh, my God. And we were going out to do this scene to John. That was early in the film. And I couldn't send Edmund. I thought I would take a chance because he was coherent. He wasn't, but we'd have blanks. But I realized I couldn't send him in that weather. So we made an emergency call. And sure enough, John's other thing had fallen through. And he was able to come and rescue us. And we took Edmund to the plane, and he never worked again. I think he did one other small part with somebody, but that was a tragic, deep story. So that's the real story.
It's amplified.
Yeah, you were the first one.
How did you come up with some of the sounds that we have in this?
Some of the sounds, okay. Some of the sounds were, this was in the day, as everybody here will know, before samplers, before synthesizers. So much of these sounds came from a piano that I destroyed. I scraped it with combs and brushes and forks and recorded it as many ways as I could think of, reversed it, put it through reverb, sent it to a recording studio, had other things done to it. That any of it survived all that mangling is really quite surprising. But they were mostly concrete sounds that you find anywhere, and then we manipulated them. And much of it was voices, sometimes from the same woman whose name I can't remember either, that helped us with the phone calls. Vocals sung into the piano to excite the strings of the piano, recorded backwards. I mean, anything you can think of we did to the sound. I'm glad it worked for you. I was never sure at the time.
Well, did you also choose which recordings of the carols would be used? Because all of the traditional Christmas carols that are in this still have a really kind of creepy, eerie tone to them that's really effective.
Well, in fact, we made those, as my recollection serves me well enough. I think we recorded those Christmas carols. Now, those children that you see outside were not the vocalists, but I think every Christmas carol that you hear in the movie, we recorded specifically for the purposes.
Except the first one.
The first one, that's quite correct.
Yeah, I have another question for John Saxon. I'm just curious, it's a dark movie, but what was it like to do all of the comedic scenes within that?
There was no difficulty in doing them. Working with Bob on the film was, in my part of the thing, very collaborative. It was rather easy. Bob merely and very clearly had in mind what he wanted to do in every shot, and he explained it very simply to me, and I found I caught on very, very quickly, and I think I understood what was happening, what to do, and I think we had a very good working relationship. Yeah.
That's John is a really fine actor. I do come with all my ideas to begin with, but when you've got great actors, you have to be open to their ideas. You have to let them flow, and a surprising amount more than John probably remembers came spontaneously. He has little moments like coming down the stairs and then they talk about Barbara. She's upstairs asleep, and he added, "We'll leave her. We'll let her sleep." And that gets a nice laugh from the audience because we've seen her fellatio act. How many here know what the word fellatio means, by the way? Okay, almost everybody.
We had a dispute about the pronunciation.
Oh, I don't. What, fellatio or fellatio? It is
fellatio, I say.
All right, yeah, it is fellatio. It is oral sex, for those of you that didn't.
Either way, how long was the actress wrapped in plastic for?
Oh, well, let's see. She probably about 60 seconds a shot. She was very good. She did not ever a flicker or a movement from Lynn. She did a remarkable job. It was the limit of her. I don't think there are any takes on her for more than a minute. maybe some of the pullbacks, but by the time we got back, she was able then to breathe a little bit.
John, this is obviously not the only horror film, successful horror film that you've done. I was just wondering, because you've done a number of genre films, different genres. Do you have a particular favorite type of genre to act in?
The drama, plain simple drama. At this stage, I really would like something, you know, sort of mature and emotional. I've done an action film, I've done a karate film, I've done some other, you know, horror films, Nightmare on Elm Street. The first of which I thought was really interesting, but progressively I think they use it as a vehicle for special effects, and it began to lose more and more, in my estimation, of its of the real meaning of whatever dreams are about, and the meaning of them, and so on. Special? No, I mean, I think what I said at the beginning is what I'd like a really, I feel like a different person from when I started my career, and looking for a role that would be, I don't know, serious.
The other question was actually about the phone calls, which are so intricate and disturbing and evocative. I'm just curious, was it written out that detail in the script, or was it more improvised afterwards?
It's not written out in that much detail. We created it as we went. It is in the script. The nature of it is there.
How involved was Roy Moore with the film once you were shooting?
I had him pummeled every morning before we started shooting, but I let him on set. No, Roy was he was there. No, I don't think he was. No, I don't think. He was working on another project. That's right. I virtually never have writers on the set because I think it's just difficult. And I write myself, and some films I do a great deal of work on. Death Dream, Alan Ormsby's script, I contributed almost nothing. Murder by Decree, maybe the original idea of Murder by Decree was my concept, but John Hopkins wrote a great script. I may have contributed 10%. This one I did, Roy and I worked together. I contributed a great deal to this one, but some I contribute a lot, some I don't, and some I've written myself. Porky's and Christmas Story with Gene Shepard, of course, it was his work. When a Stranger Called really did literally rip the idea off. It was rather direct. I was so surprised. I didn't see it, but when I heard that famous line, "The killer is in the house, the calls are coming from the house," is quoted from it as well. It's always nice to know you've been inventive. What I really tried to invent in this movie more than anything else, you know how college and high school students had been. It was beach blanket bikini until virtually to this film. A few films of intelligence had been done before that. Help me out, guys. What was the one example I used?
Well, you had A Separate Piece, maybe. You had
Rebel
Summer of 42.
Right, even earlier than that, some of the...
Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a Cause. You had young people, but they were literary young people. And I think in this movie I tried to create real college students, and I'm really kind of amazed at how they hold up here. They're pretty much today. They aren't that much. The vulgarity has something to do with it, but their attitude, their coolness. So I wanted these people to be as real as possible. No college, high school, rah-rah, beach blanket bikini, and I'm quite pleased with. Yes?
What were some of your influences for Black Christmas? What films influenced you?
It sounds arrogant to say, but I actually had none that I know of. Clearly, I was not a huge movie buff. I came out of the legitimate theater. I liked films, but I was just a guy that liked films. I wasn't a student. I remember one film, and I cannot remember who the star was. It was a pretty good lady star. And if I remembered her, we'd all remember the film. It wasn't a famous film, which had a little bit of this camera work, but only used it for a few minutes at one point. Up until then, I hadn't seen that. I know people had used it. I'm not the first one to use subjective camera, but to make it a whole character, it could have been. That's not the one though. It's like a two-word title. But that sense of, again, as I say, I wanted the camera to involve the audience and be subjective camera as well as when it's the point of view of the killer.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you selected the key location, the sorority house?
We searched a long time for that sorority house. I had my people out. I had selected one in northern Toronto. I wasn't happy with it. I finally decided I'm going to take a walk around. I walked around Rosedale and the environs, and that was private property, so I actually walked onto that property and got the back, because you can only see the back of the house from the road quite a ways away. And I knew immediately, God, this is it. It was like born. Everything about it, the way the stairs led down to the hallway and the hallway into the living room, so I could do all that as one tie-in. And then the actual attic thing, it was there leading down to the telephone. So it was a great find. I lucked out and found it, because for 5 or 6 weeks I couldn't. Next. Yes, sir.
Who played Peter's piano audition when it was such a big day?
Okay,
This guy right here.
Here's how we did that. For Peter, or Keir Delay, well, we had music for this already. It had to be. The order was make it something very strange. I think we did that part rather well.
Yeah.
But Keir Delay played the piano. He listened to what we were playing, and he sat and played it. You see his shoulders and his body movements. And then for close-ups, I did it. I put on Keir Delay's wristwatch and sport coat and was shot by Burt Dunk, and then it was all cut together, and that's how it happened.
If you listen carefully while Olivia's asleep, you hear someone say, "Shall we check the rest of the house in the attic?" And you hear him say, "No, don't touch a thing to the state." And we're accurate, we're right on the money. A state forensic crew would come, not a small town college. They would not touch that location. That's why they weren't stupid that they didn't go up and find them. They were not going to do that, and it's not good police work until the forensic team got there. So we're perfectly justified to have him up there, and he's pretty bright because he probably knows that too. So I just felt the same way you do. That image is so grim. I wanted to make that the last thing we see. We hear him. We know he's there. So let's have 2 more questions, and we'll get out of here. Anybody? Good. Okay, well, folks, I appreciated this turnout. You guys were terrific.
Once again, a thunderous applause for Carl Zittner, John Saxon. There are writers and directors in this audience. I know who you are. Give this man the dramatic part he deserves. And Mr. Don Clark.
Do you look at your experience in Black Christmas as a highlight of your career, and why not?
Not so much a highlight. The highlights of my career, obviously, I think were Romeo and Juliet and Jesus of Nazareth, Death on the Nile. Those were like the classic highlights. But Black Christmas I took because I had just given birth to my first child, and I'd never done a scary film. And Bob approached me to do it, and I just loved the whole idea of getting away from home, leaving the baby for a month, going there and doing something I'd never done before, and being the heroine of this very frightening plot.
What was it like working with the director, Bob Clark?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, he was meticulous. He was down to doing the voice of the killer and helping to dress the bodies, and just a lovely man. We'd go out to dinner after shooting always, and he'd talk about his plans for the next day. And I mean, he really is a wonderful director. You know, as I was telling you before, the house looks dark and ominous on screen, but actually the real house was very small, and the yard around it, and he made it look very frightening, but it wasn't at all. It was a lot of fun shooting.
The movie Halloween is noted as being the film that was responsible for ushering in the modern horror genre. It really got a lot of recognition. However, Black Christmas shared the minimalist approach in terms of directing and story, yet it came out 4 years before Halloween. I was just wondering if you do you think Black Christmas in a way inspired Halloween because of that?
I think Bob Clark told me that it was the first of its genre, that kind of a film that was so... I haven't seen Halloween. I can't watch frightening films. They scare me too much. But Bob said that it was the first of its kind, that they fashioned a lot of films afterwards. It changed the way that horror films were made. You'd have to talk to Bob about why, because, as I say, I haven't seen a lot of scary films.
What was it like working with John Saxon?
John is an angel. He was just a delight. The whole experience was beautiful. Andrea Martin was very funny. She was a comedian. I didn't get to know Margot Kidder too well. She was very quiet and off on doing her thing. And Keir Dullea was very sweet. But John was probably the friendliest of everyone.
I want to talk about the phone calls. There's some very vulgar moments in the movie on the telephone. Were you apprehensive at all about the material?
No, because actually when I took the phone call, the voice they put in afterwards wasn't the voice that I was hearing. That was added during the looping. And so I didn't really hear the really horrible things that were being said. I heard Bob Clark reading back to me, things like, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to... And I had to react and be terrified. But then when you actually see the film, some of the things are horrible, and I wasn't hearing those.
So those were not in the script?
They were not in the script, no. And Bob Clark improvised them and then added them in afterwards.
Had they been in the script, would that have been a problem for you?
No, not really. I think once you commit to a project, once you start, it's like when I did Psycho 4. Once you commit, you just do it. And it doesn't matter what is being said, you go with the moment.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think of the script when you first read it?
I thought it was fantastic. I said, oh my God, this is so frightening. And then, Bob wanted to do 2 alternative endings, and we didn't know if I was going to be killed, or if so. I think he left it open at the end. But in one of the versions, they were going to kill me. And then he said, better that we just leave her in the house with the phone ringing, or, so...
Were there any scenes in the movie that were filmed that were not used? In other words, did you film that scene where you were killed?
No, we didn't. I think because we were on a tight budget and the constraints of time was pretty much mapped out. I think we kept to the script pretty much, and everything that was shot, almost everything we used.
So how do you think the storyline surrounding Jess and Peter? Remember, you're pregnant in the movie, and they're setting up this thriller angle where it could be Keir Dullea, it could be him creeping around in the house. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
The whole idea about Jess being pregnant and not wanting to keep the baby. Do you have any comments about that? About how it was effective in the film in terms of the storyline or the
Well, it just added to the overall intrigue. I think it was just a subplot, wasn't it? It wasn't that big of a deal. It just made it more interesting. It certainly explained my weight. I was eating going to the Chinese restaurant and eating these Chinese pancakes with Bob every night after shooting, and my waist was expanding. And, she had that sweater on with the 2 hands holding, and those hands were getting larger and larger as I was eating more and more. So, Steve Martin... I told you, it was one of his favorite films of all time. I met him when he was doing Roxanne, and he said, you were in one of my favorite films. And I said, Romeo and Juliet. He said, no, Black Christmas. I saw it 23 times. I loved it. It's like in his collection. So that was flattering. It did very, very well in Europe, It's one of those little cult films.
I was going to ask you what the reviews were like when the movie came out.
Oh, it said terrifying, frightening, and Olivia was appropriately terrified in it, and really good reviews, as I remember. Why, do you know different?
No, I was just asking,
okay.
It's found an audience throughout the years, and I think it's one of these movies that just keeps getting...
once a year or something, every Christmas they show it at these movie theaters, and people go to watch Black Christmas and then some other Christmas movie, and... I didn't know that. I went there, I think, last Christmas, just the first time, and I was shocked at how many people loved this film.
You could be called the original Scream Queen because Jamie Lee Curtis kind of wore that crown because of her screaming in Halloween.
Yeah.
But do you consider yourself a Scream Queen?
Why not? I didn't get to scream much in it, though, did I? I just looked terrified. It was the phone call. And you know, it's really hard because you're doing 4 different phone calls in a day, and you've got to make the different expressions, and you can just be the same, the repetition, not her again going, you know, so you've got to make it, vary it a little bit to, you know.
The killer's identity is a complete mystery.
Yes.
In the film.
Even at the end, I believe you never really know who it is.
Do you think this lack of information is why the movie is effective? Why or why not?
I think, and today they show too much in films. You know, I think a lot of times, like Hitchcock, you don't really see anything, but you have the idea that you've seen. Other than the bodies once in a while, the thought of some man standing behind a door, peering at you is a lot more frightening than watching somebody like, you know, you see the bodies once it's happened, but you don't actually see it happening. And to me, that's a lot more terrifying, the thought of something, than the reality of watching somebody hacking somebody, you know?
Do you remember who the actor was who played the character that was looking through, you know?
They were different people all the time. One was a double. It wasn't any particular person. You know, one time I think Bob played it, and then somebody else was behind the door and they put the glass eye in, and so it wasn't really one person. There wasn't ever one person on the set that was the murderer.
So the person standing behind the door had a glass eye?
They put in a lens, what do you call them?
Contact.
A contact, thank you.
Why do you think people like horror movies?
I think people like horror movies because they like that, like they like going to the fairground, they like that adrenaline rush, that, oh my God, terrifying, and for a minute it stops their brains and makes the hair on their arms stand up. And I can't watch a horror film. I mean, to act in a horror film and to watch one are completely different. You're not very frightened when you're acting it, you know. But I can't sit through a Friday the 13th or a Halloween, or I can't sit through them. I'm too terrified. I saw Psycho years ago, and I didn't sleep for a month. I mean, I was terrified. And you didn't really see the murders. You just saw the idea of it. The thought of being, you know, murdered naked in your shower is horrendous.
Were you proud of the film when you did it, and are you proud of it now?
I didn't see the film for years after finishing it because scary films scare me. But then when I finally saw it, I was really proud of it. It was just a beautiful little film, and I think Bob Clark is a genius of a director. I wish he did more films like that, in fact. And it is a classic in its genre. It's a classic. It's as much classic as a Romeo and Juliet or a Jesus of Nazareth in its own way. It has a huge fan base. I get a lot of emails and messages on Black Christmas. And I have to, a little anecdote is that Elvis Presley used to watch it every Christmas, and the Presley family to this day still watch it. Jerry Schilling was his road manager and is a friend of David's and mine. And Priscilla and Lisa Marie watch it every year. It's part of their Christmas event happening at home. So that was rather nice to hear. It's a classic. It's a classic film.
So let's talk about the killer a little bit. As I said, he's a complete mystery.
Yes.
What do you think happened to him? Why is he so crazy? As an actor, did you come up with your own story?
No, because we didn't really know. As I say, as we went along, I didn't. None of us really knew who the killer was going to be. I think maybe Bob would have a different idea, but we just showed up and we said, "Well, is anybody playing the killer?" And Bob said, "No, we're never going to see the killer." Or maybe we'll see him at the end when he kills you. I haven't decided yet. So that's how we started the film. The killer was maybe somebody that was there behind a door every day. There was never really anybody cast to play the killer. So it was all in the imagination of the director. So we just played it really from day to day as it came.
So what have the fans been like? You say you receive emails. What do they say to you? What are the fans like?
The fans for Black Christmas are amazing. You know, they show Black Christmas every year along with a couple of other Christmas movies, and all these people come with their popcorn and their black eye makeup, and I mean, and Black Christmas has got a cult following, and they genuinely love the film. They know every bit of dialogue. You know, they know the characters. It's really a compliment. Very nice.
How do you think the film has held up over the past 25 years? Or many years.
How do I think the film's held up? I think the fact that it's a classic and that I'm still getting emails today about it means that the film is holding up. I mean, yes, now you can have a lot more special effects, a lot gorier films, but I think that is a really terrifying film. And it's because it is so simple and it's so basic. It's somebody that's terrified. It's a madman that's living in a sorority house. I mean, the whole idea of it is terrifying. And it's all more the idea than the actual slash and gore. You know, it's the idea of being murdered that's more terrifying. Oh, God. Do I have an idea of the man that was the killer in Black Christmas? Well, it could be some warped human being that had been horribly abused by his mother as a child and hated all women, and the way he could, like, vent this hatred would be to, I know, I'll move into the sorority house. Or it could have been somebody that had a fixation on one of the girls and took it to the ultimate and decided to kill them all, you know. And maybe he just loved the fact that Jess was so silly and kept answering that phone and being so terrified, and that he thought, I'll leave her till last. I don't know. Or he was just a deranged human being that just found great comfort of living up in that attic, because, you know, the woman's body way up in the attic was never found, the housekeeper's. It was still at the end of the film. Was it found? I think her face in that plastic bag was hadn't been found, which is hard to believe that the police would, after all those murders, the police would come into the house and not check up in the attic. But maybe that's scary too.
The scene where you realize that the killer is in the house, when they say, don't go upstairs, the killer's in the house, and you choose to go upstairs, you grab the fire poker and you go upstairs, it's now kind of become, that scene has become a cliche in other horror films. And I believe you might have been the first person to do that.
You know, when you're watching a horror film, you always want to say, don't go in there, don't go in there, don't be stupid. But if they don't, there's no movie. So you have to really, you know, you have to be the actor that goes in that door so everybody can turn around and say, don't go in that door, you fool, don't you know what's waiting for you? You know, you have to do it. It's part of the script and part of what makes the audience feel like they're involved and gets the hair rising up on their arms.
If this really happened to you and you got a phone call,
I'd get out of that. If that really happened to me, I'd be out of that house so fast you wouldn't be able to say Olivia. I mean, I'd be gone. I mean, they stay, all these murders and things, disappearances, and these girls stay there. I'd be gone, long gone.
Was it difficult to play the scene then? I know you say that you go do it, you do your job, you're as an actor. Is it difficult to do the scene when you know that you'd say, it's illogical, I'd run out the door?
Not really, because playing Jess, I mean, no, she'd be there, and a lot of times, sure, through Jess's mind, she was thinking maybe it was her boyfriend that was harassing her, or, you know, who is this? And I'm sure in her head she was thinking, leave me alone. And then she got these horrible things and thought, who could that be? No. I mean, if you start getting threatening calls, you don't just pack a bag and leave. You deal with it. I mean, women are stalked every day, aren't they? So it's a form of stalking. They stalked the sorority house. This man stalked the sorority house instead of just one person. Would this be the same movie if it was in the summer? I don't think so. I think the thought of blood on snow is just frightening. I mean, and the fact that they're all huddled in these houses, and when they go out you see the breath and the scarves. It's all very dramatic. I thought it was a perfect setting and a perfect time. Christmas time when you're supposed to be joyous and everybody's dying. I think it happened just in the month it was supposed to happen.
Horror films are a very strange kind of thing. I mean, they're movies about killers and bloodshed and death and all of that. Yet they draw a really devoted audience, people who appreciate the thrill and all of that. Do you think horror movies on some level are detrimental to society in any way?
Well, I think there's always the weirdos out there that could try to relive it or try to, you know, I personally, for myself, I love comedies. I love things that make you feel good, that, you know, but it takes all different kinds of people to make a world. I mean, I just finished another horror film, and I just love the people. Actually, horror films are more fun to do than the comedies. The comedies, because there's usually a lot of pressure, and comedies are difficult to do. No, I think for most people they're entertainment. I mean, the oddballs will always be oddballs, and I don't think they harm anybody. people go eat their popcorn and get terrified. I think it's fun.
I think the only thing that's kind of left is if you have any funny stories on set, any anecdotes from, you say, I mean, it's a horror movie, it's a scary movie, but it's
But usually on most horror films, you do get moments where you laugh when you're helping to dress the bodies and things, and the body sits up and then falls down in the middle of the scene, and then it's got to be picked up. But with this one, I think it was such a long time ago, and we were really pressured to do it, and we were all in this tiny little house, Bob Clark was hysterical. I mean, him doing the voice behind the door, and, but I don't actually remember any specific funny moment. Bob would have a lot of them if you talk to him, I think. But it was a good shoot. It was fun.